Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to the fourth episode of Weekend Reads. So far, we have covered various aspects of habits, which include how habits form, what are the components of habits, how do you change bad habits, and how do you form new ones. But today, we will cover perhaps the most important concept of this book, which is the idea of keystone habits. So in this video, we will look at what keystone habits are, how do you identify them, and why are they more important than other habits, and what kind of influence can they have on our lives as individuals, and also what kind of impact that they can have over organizations. This video will be helpful not just for individuals who are trying to bring about seismic changes in their lives, but it will also be useful for people who are either running their own companies or are in senior positions within organizations, and they want to change the way decisions are made. They want to bring about changes within the organizational culture. The case study that we look at is from an American aluminum manufacturing company, which is ALCOA. And we will see how by changing certain key habits, or rather one habit, they were able to bring about a lot of changes in the overall company's decision-making structures and organizational culture. So first, understand what is a keystone habit. So keystone habits are those habits that have the power of triggering changes in other areas, in other habits that you have. So as an individual, you have certain patterns of behavior, and within those behavior patterns, you have certain keystone habits. These habits, once they are changed, you will witness a change in other areas of your life as well. For organizations, these habits, or rather even sometimes just one single habit, can have seismic influence in how a company is structured and how its culture is formulated and how its decisions are made at the end of the day. So let's jump into the case study for this episode. And this is a time when the ALCOA, or the Aluminum Manufacturing Company of America, is going through a pretty difficult phase. Their board has made some series of bad decisions due to which the company is not making profit. The product that they're churning out is low on quality, and the company is going through a pretty bad phase. So the company decides that they want to bring in a new individual as this chief executive officer of this company. So there's a board of directors meeting that is held, where this new CEO is going to be unveiled to all of the key stakeholders, include directors and other key investors of the company. And this person, who is Paul O'Neill, does not have any business background, has not run any business on his own, has not even managed any private sector organization. But what he does have under his belt is a very stellar record in American bureaucracy. And if you read about the book, you will learn about what the kind of work that he did with the American healthcare system. So that's something that you can look forward to in the book. So here he is, he's introduced, and he takes a stage where he's going to deliver the customary speech that all new CEOs deliver to the board of directors and to the investors. And he focuses on one thing and one thing alone. He does not talk about revenue, he does not talk about profit, he does not talk about how he's going to improve the quality of the product per se. He talks about worker safety. His aim was simply this: he wanted to make ALCOA a company that has the safest working environment across the United States of America. A noble goal, but not something that board of directors or investors were looking for in a CEO. They wanted somebody who will talk about profits, who will talk about revenue, who will talk about how they're going to reduce the costs, all of those things. He did not mention any of those things, and he doubled down on his initial claim that he wants to ensure that all workers are safe, and he says that he wants to achieve this idea where there are zero accidents on the factory floor, which in itself seems like an unachievable goal. By the end of his tenure, the company not only became one of the safest companies for workers anywhere in the world, but it also increased its revenue by nearly 4 times to what it was when he joined. By focusing on worker safety, he was able to bring about seismic changes in other areas of the company, which ultimately led to a company improving its product and increasing its revenue and profits. And so here we will look at certain characteristics that a keystone habit has. So one of the ways that keystone habits functions is that it creates new structures which have impact on other areas as well. So the habit that he wanted was a simple policy. If there was an accident on the factory floor, it needed to be reported to the top management within 24 hours. And the report not only had to mention what happened, but it also needed to inform them of what decisions, what actions were being taken to ensure that this particular accident does not happen again. And the reward was that only those managers were promoted who ensured that their plant, their area of manufacturing was the safest and they had the lowest number of injuries. So there was the cue, any accident takes place. There's a routine, which is reporting it quickly and mentioning what corrective mechanism is being taken, and the reward is that if you stick to it and if you're able to improve the conditions, you will be rewarded with promotions. Now, in order to carry out this habit loop, what they needed was faster way of communication. So the managers had to be closely in touch with the people working at the floor, with the floor in charge. So it helped to make the organizational structure more lean. It helped to get rid of some of the red tape that existed that made it difficult for information to flow. And what happened over the years was that because of this lean structure, not only were the accidents being reported very quickly and that had an impact in improving the worker safety, it also increased the flow of information. One of the main things that they had to adopt was a centralized emailing server, and ALCOA was one of the first organizations in America to adopt this system. So by using the mailing server, not only were they able to relay the information regarding any injuries or risks to the higher management, they also decided that this was an amazing medium through which other kind of information could also be relayed to the top management. Information related to market updates or recent developments or pricing, if there was a change in pricing and there were certain negotiations that were taking place. All of this information could now be very quickly cascaded to the top management very quickly, where the strategic decisions had to be made, which allowed the company to make intelligent decisions based on information, based on data that ultimately helped the company improve its revenue. Now, that's one of the ways how, by changing the entire organizational structure, they were able to bring about change. The other thing that was now happening is because in order to ensure that the workers were safe, any faulty piece of equipment that was installed that could potentially lead to an injury was immediately replaced. So not only did it improve worker safety, it also ensured that worn out parts were replaced, and ultimately the final product that was being produced had better quality. And it also meant that because they were using better quality machinery, it also increased the efficiency both in terms of time and energy consumed, which ultimately helped the company make higher profits. So see, by just changing one habit, by just focusing on one area, which was worker safety, they were able to bring about changes in other areas, such as their organizational culture, such as their organizational structure as well, that allowed the company to improve on its profile and improve not only the worker safety but also their revenues and profits. The other thing that the Keystone Habit does, and the other way the Keystone Habit functions, is that it creates cultures where new values get ingrained. And so one of the things that happens within this company is that there was a manager who had great numbers, had excellent productivity, but once there was an accident that took place under his watch, and while the workers who were injured, they were able to recover completely, and the part that was faulty due to which that injury happened, that was also rectified. All of those things were corrected, but the only thing that he did not do was he did not report that incident to higher management. Now, in any other company, this would have been, sort of a slap on the wrist kind of a thing. Oh, he's a good manager. He just made one mistake. We'll just ignore that. But not at this company. Because of the Keystone Habit of worker safety, they had ingrained this habit loop into their core value structure. And this was the red line. Failure to report for this company was a red line, which meant that they did not waste any time in firing that manager. This is really important to understand. That's where Keystone Habits become really powerful, when they are tied to the value system, whether in organizations or in individuals.